What if Ben Tennyson, the wielder of the most powerful weapon in the universe, parachuted into the dark world of Jujutsu Kaisen? Imagine the impact if the hero, or rather the bearer of the Omnitrix, who holds the DNA of over 1 million alien species, landed in a place where power is defined by trauma, bloodlines, and cursed energy. How would Ben be able to see curses without cursed energy? Would Ben be able to stop Sukuna or Mahoraga? And most importantly, would Ben be able to save Gojo and Nanami? Before we understand how he would change the fate of Itadori and his friends, we need to see how he ended up there. See, during dimensional portal tests at the Galvan Prime Laboratories, Blue Duke made a miscalculation, and Driba creates an unstable rift, sucking Ben 10 into a reality where monsters born from human fear roam the streets of Tokyo. Our story begins in the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero arc. Ben appears in a flash of emerald light right in the center of the Tokyo Sorcerer School, interrupting the training of Yuta Okotsu, Maki, Panda, and Inumaki. Ben's presence immediately confuses Satoru Gojo. With his 6 eyes, Gojo senses something impossible. Ben doesn't have a drop of cursed energy, but the watch on his wrist emits a biological energy signature so vast that even Gojo's own infinity vibrates in alarm. But Rika acts to defend Yuta from the possible threat called Ben Tennyson. He transforms into feedback to absorb a burst of energy accidentally emitted by Rika, the Queen of Curses. But how was Ben able to sense Rika's presence? Note that the Omnitrix is not powered by cursed energy. But just as the 6 eyes perceive vast surges of energy as potential threats, the Omnitrix's sensors would identify cursed energy as an uncatalogued external biological frequency. When detecting a new type of energy, such as that generated by curses, the device not only protects the user but also looks for the point at which human biology can be enhanced to face the threat. Because they're on alert and think Ben might be a possible intruder at Jujutsu High, everyone gets ready to fight him. Maki Zenin is the first to move, charging forward with her spear at a speed that would leave any ordinary human unable to react. Ben spins the disc again and transforms into Diamond. Maki's spear collides with his crystal chest, producing only sparks. With a gesture, Ben transmutes the ground into spikes, forcing her to retreat. But Panda is already in the air, delivering a punch charged with cursed energy. But it has no effect on Ben thanks to his rigid diamond skin. While Panda is being overwhelmed by showers of diamonds preparing the next attack, Inumaki is beside him, heading toward Ben. And notice that the Omnitrix in its ultimate version gives Ben the best aliens for each situation. Precisely because of this, when he returns to his human form in a matter of milliseconds, he transforms again. Ben, as Beast, completely ignores the stop command from Toji Inumaki, who feels the backlash of his own technique when trying to affect a biology without an auditory system. Remember that this alien doesn't have ears and perceives the world through thermography and tactile sensors. The Beast dodges Panda with animal-like agility and knocks him down with a brutal charge, then does the same to Inumaki. Seeing his friends in danger, Yuta's energy overflows and Rika, the Queen of Curses, manifests herself again. Roaring with power that makes the ground tremble, Gojo smiles, curious to see how far the adaptive logic of the watch can go. Ben doesn't back down. He selects feedback, obviously taking the heavy attack, and that was the best choice the watch could make. Because just like Yuta, Gojo is ready for Inumaki, but Ben uses the alien's gravitational field to increase gravity and prevent the next attacks from the sorcerers, giving him the opportunity to explain himself. But do you really believe that Gojo's infinity can withstand a gravitational distortion that alters the very fabric of reality? See, the answer lies in physics. Extreme gravity bends space, and where space bends, infinity meets its limit. So, before acting, even Gojo is paralyzed. Being the Chad we know, Ben quickly fits in after a brief misunderstanding. Our hero needs to wait until Bloodwick and Driva can bring him back. Now that we've seen Ben's overwhelming power, what will our hero change in the story of Jujutsu Kaisen? Well, before I tell you, I need you to use your cursed energy on the like button to charge the Omnitrix. Help me reach the goal of 200,000 subscribers so we can unlock a supreme form of this channel together with the notification bell on. Your subscription is the turning point that allows me to keep bringing these epic stories. Now get ready because the Jujutsu Kaisen board is about to be turned upside down. See, time passes and we go straight to the battle of the parade of monsters where Ben's presence changes the board. While Yuta faces Geto at Jujutsu School, Ben transforms into Gravatak, creating gravity fields that mobilize the thousands of curses unleashed on Shinjuku. While Gojo was slapping Miguel in full HD 4K,
from Jujutsu Kaisen at stake.
the sorcerer notices something is wrong and uses a spell to send Ben along with the others to the Jujutsu school, which was under attack by Geto. When they arrived, Geto had already received a message from Miguel informing him about Ben, who had destroyed all the curses in a matter of minutes. Geto is horrified when he sees the curses he spent years collecting being crushed like mere flies by a boy he considers a monkey for not having cursed energy. Thanks to Ben, collateral damage in the city is minimal, and with Yuta's support, the two fight against Geto, with Geto himself being subdued by Rika's power and his summoned curses being incinerated by the shaman's power. Gito meets a tragic end, as in the original timeline. Time passes and now Ben works as a special consultant for the Jujutsu school, acting almost like a sorcerer, helping to exorcise curses throughout Tokyo. When Yuji Itadori consumes Sukuna's finger, the Omnitrix goes on alert for magic. Upon detecting Ryoma and Sukuna's DNA in Yuji's body, the Watch tries to catalog him as a new species. Ben, being far from Itadori, transforms into XLR8 and arrives in time to save Megumi from Sukuna. Ben is surprised, saying he expected to see only Sukuna and catalog him as a new species. Sukuna would obviously be enraged by Ben's disrespect and disdain, but what can Sukuna do? Simply nothing. XLR8 humiliates Sukuna in every possible way. Sukuna can't even see him move since he moves at the speed of light and can even be faster than that. In the end, Itadori controls Sukuna, and Ben, even though he tries to catalog him, the Omnitrix doesn't accept incomplete DNA since not all of Sukuna's power is inside Itadori. Now Itadori joins the Sorcerer School and continues his mission to search for Sukuna's fingers, and Gojo assigns Ben to supervise him. Right at the beginning of the Cursed Womb arc, the tragedy is avoided. When the curse carrying the finger appears, Ben doesn't allow Yuji to sacrifice himself. Transforming into Diamond Head, Ben creates barriers that block the special Great Curse's attacks while using his molecular regeneration to withstand any blow. He easily defeats the curse, preventing Sukuna from taking control and ripping out Itadori's heart. Therefore, Yuji doesn't die and consequently doesn't make the binding vow with Sukuna at that moment, leaving the King of Curses without an easy escape route for the future. During the encounter with Mahito, Ben's greatest threat is revealed. Mahito's idol transfiguration attacks the soul, which could be a problem for Ben. See, all of this happens when the sorcerers go to investigate the bizarre deaths at the movie theater, which leads Itadori and Nanami to come face to face with the personification of human fear, Mahito. Ben Tennyson, acting as the school's interdimensional consultant, accompanies the duo under direct orders from Gojo. The atmosphere is tense, filled with the smell of sewage and the spiritual pressure of a curse that plays God with the human soul. But the Omnitrix has a protection system against genetic and spiritual manipulation. When Mahito surprises the sorcerers, he attacks, trying to touch Ben's soul. The watch emits a shockwave that repels the curse, protecting the user. Mahito smiles, seeing that Ben is a fascinating specimen who smells like 1,000 different lives. This delights him, but now he targets Itadori, and when the curse tries to use idol transfiguration to touch his soul, Nanami intercepts with his 7:3 ratio technique. But Ben changes the fight's dynamics. By turning the Omnitrix, the device detects Mahito's attempt to alter the host's physical form and activates the galvanic safeguard. Ben transforms into Ghost Freak. In this form, Ben doesn't have a human cellular structure that Mahito can easily manipulate. As an ectonurate, he is an entity composed of ectoplasmic consciousness. While Mahito shapes the soul to change the body, Ghost Freak is the soul made manifest. This allows Ben to ignore Mahito's intangibility and hit him directly at his spiritual core. In terms of speed, Ben's ethereal form allows for multidimensional movements that surpass Mahito's perception, as he is used to fighting beings confined to three-dimensionality. In physical combat, Mahito, taking a beating from Ben, tries to escape. And unlike the original story where Mahito manages to escape after being injured by Sukuna, Ben doesn't allow him to get away. Realizing that Mahito is trying to fragment himself to escape through the pipes, Ben hits the Omnitrix and transforms into feedback. He not only sees Mahito's cursed energy, but also absorbs it through his biological plugs, draining the essence of the curse until he loses the ability to maintain his form. With a concentrated burst of energy, Ben erases Mahito from existence before he can perform his domain expansion, permanently eliminating the threat. And that's a huge change in the story, because without Mahito to transfigure Junpei, he doesn't die at school. He is rescued by Itadori and Ben, becoming a student at the Tokyo school. This strengthens the students' morale and removes the trauma that would drive Yuji to seek dark power. Furthermore, inside Itadori, the King of Curses becomes furious when he realizes that the stranger with the watch eliminated a curse with such power. Sukuna starts to see Ben not as an obstacle, but as a genetic treasure that he must devour to transcend the limitations of his current vessel. But the most important change happens here, where Kenjaku's plan is shattered. Kenjaku needed Mahito's inactive transfiguration to activate the culling game. Without Mahito, Kenjaku is forced to seek more brutal and unstable methods, accelerating his direct confrontation with Gojo and Ben. Do you really believe the world would be safer without Mahito? Think about it. By eliminating Kenjaku's greatest weapon, Ben Tennyson forced the villain to come out of the shadows earlier, turning the Shibuya incident into a direct hunt for the Omnitrix bearer. So, how will the story unfold now that it has become a hunt for the Omnitrix bearer? Look, the journey is heading toward the absolute chaos of Shibuya, where the fate of Satoru Gojo and the secret of the Omnitrix will collide. But first, we need to see how the Kyoto exchange event will unfold with Ben's presence. Look, Hanami's invasion is interrupted by a display of fire that would fry her completely. When Ben arrives with his powerful heat blast, incinerating all of Hanami's attacks, she's forced to retreat before Gojo even needs to intervene with Hollow Purple, which leaves the students from Tokyo and Kyoto in shock. The power hierarchy has been shattered. Ben Tennyson isn't just a hero, he's a force of nature that the curses can't categorize or plan against. Everything seems to be under control, but Kenjaku, the strategist behind Gito, watches from the shadows. He realizes that Ben is the variable preventing Gojo's sealing. If he can't seal Gojo with the prison realm, he'll have to use Ben as a key to chaos. Peace is just an illusion before the storm. Now, Ben and the sorcerers prepare for the nightmare that is about to come. The stage is set, the pieces have been moved, and the next step will decide the fate of humanity. The Shibuya incident begins with a nightmare ignited. Observing Ben's actions, Kenjaku realizes that the hero puts people's lives above everything else. Soon, he could still have advantages over the hero, but Kenjaku could never have predicted that Ben would split himself into several to help humanity at this crossroads that Kenjaku had so carefully planned to separate the sorcerer's forces. Notice that at the moment Satoru Gojo enters the subway station and is confronted by special grade curses, Ben is already positioned on the perimeter, using Echo to create dozens of clones and evacuate the civilians with superhuman efficiency. He also accompanies the other teams assembled during the Shibuya incident, helping them deal with the curses that would appear. As a result, there would be few casualties, and without Mahito around, Nanami and Nobara would remain on the battlefield. The secondary battles so far proceed in the same way, but with more ease thanks to Ben's actions as Echo. When the prison realm is finally revealed and Kenjaku appears with Suguru Geto's body, the shock paralyzes Gojo for a second, which is exactly the time needed for the sealing. However, before the box can close around the strongest sorcerer, Ben tries to stop Geto from escaping with Echo's sonic screams, but Jogo intercepts him. The curses are able to easily handle this alien form of Ben's. While separated from the other clones, Ben can't return to normal or even use another alien. Realizing this, Jogo chases after our hero to capture him. As Ben runs from the curse, he eventually reunites with his clones and also comes across Itadori, who who is lying in the subway corridor after his fight with Choso. Knowing he can't handle Jogo in this state, and knowing that the curse needs Itadori alive, his priority is to escape and meet up with the other clones that are scattered around. At that moment, Jogo awakens Sukuna and has an insane fight with him. After the partial destruction of Shibuya, Ben finally reunites with all his Echo clones, finally returning to his original form, but he doesn't stop there. Notice that, to face the peak of human evil, the Omnitrix doesn't suggest an ordinary hero. Ben slams the watch hard, transforming into the giant. Imagine the scene, a being over 60 meters tall emerging among the buildings of Tokyo, overshadowing the moon. Sukuna, who until then saw himself as the center of the universe, has to tilt his neck to face the invader. The King of Curses doesn't back down. He opens his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. Thousands of invisible slashes fly toward the giant. However, the giant's body is made of biological material capable of withstanding cosmic storms and supernovas. Sukuna's slashes, which would pulverize any special grade sorcerer, produce only sparks on Ben's armored skin. Ben responds with a beam of cosmic rays, obliterating Sukuna's territory and forcing the King of Curses to leap among the rubble to avoid being disintegrated. Amid the destruction caused by the clash of these two titans, Megumi Fushiguro is ambushed by Haruta Shigemo. Gravely injured and seeing that Ben and Sukuna's battle will destroy everything that remains, Megumi makes the most drastic decision of his life. He knows he can't win, so he decides to bet on tomorrow. With blood flowing, he chants the forbidden chant. With this treasure, I summon the Divergent 8-Blade Divine General, Sila Mahoraga. The exorcism ritual begins, and the most feared creature of the Zenin clan appears. Mahoraga, with its wheel spinning above its head, is about to obliterate Shigemo. He focuses his attention on the greatest threat present, Ben Tennyson. Mahoraga charges forward at hypersonic speed. The clash between Ben in his giant form and Mahoraga takes place, breaking the boundaries of canon. Mahoraga adapts to the giant's overwhelming strength. Next, he starts predicting Ben's movements. Mahoraga isn't just strong, he's a glitch in the matrix of biology, capable of finding a solution to any power Ben throws at him. The situation is getting out of control. Does Ben Tennyson have the stamina for one last transformation, or will the King of Curses finally get his hands on the man with the tricks? If you want the wielder of the most powerful weapon in the universe to win this battle, leave your like now to give the watch the energy it needs to recharge. Now get ready, because what comes next will literally shatter reality. Ben realizes he needs to finish the fight right then. Because he sees Megumi gravely injured, Itadori taken over by Sukuna, Gojo trapped, and King Kenjaku about to leave the scene to throw the world into the greatest chaos ever seen. If he doesn't solve this right then, the future will be bleak for his new friends. Ben returns to his human form. The opening Sukuna and Mahoraga were waiting for. Sukuna conjures his flames, Fuga, and launches them toward Ben. Meanwhile, Mahoraga is about to obliterate him, but when he hits the watch, a green light bursts out. Emerald makes time stop. The universe is no longer the same for Ben. He transforms into his most powerful form, Alien X. With a single thought, Ben, now in harmony with the personalities of Bellicus and Serena, begins the restoration. Alien X reaches out toward Mahoraga, banishing the shadow from the world, and reaching out toward Itadori, the soul of Ryomen Sukuna is ripped from the young man's body. Not as a spirit, but as a genetic anomaly, being deleted. Sukuna screams in pure terror as his essence is banished to the void between dimensions, where he will never be able to find a host again. Reality begins to rewind. The destroyed buildings rebuild themselves from the dust. The fire turns into a breeze, and the wounds of the innocents and the sorcerers like Nanami, Nobara, and Maki close instantly. The blood that stained the streets disappears as if it never existed. Ben uses Alien X to rewrite the laws that govern Satoru Gojo's prison. He frees our honored one and makes a trade with Kenjaku, trapping him forever in his own trap. Looks like the tables have turned, haven't they? Back in his human form. With everything settled and in order, Ben forgets to use his powers to return to his own dimension. But fortunately, Ben can celebrate the victory alongside his friends. For a little while longer until Blue Duck and Dribba bring him back. The world of Jujutsu Kaisen will never be the same again. Because they saw that above curses and sorcerers, there is a hero who carries the universe on his wrist, least. Did you like this epic story of Ben 10 in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen? I hope so. So like, comment, and share, because this is just the beginning. I want to see you in this video here that I picked especially for you. Check it out because I'll see you there. Just